light up and how alive he is with you, and just your willingness to see a broader perspective of him, to understand or experience a broader perspective of him, even though he's gone. I'm so struck by how alive he is in your life. And you do that. You do that by honoring him. You do that by, whether it's, whether you're golfing or making a dish or something, you always share the narrative, gosh, my dad used to do this and he did it this way. And it always strikes me how alive he is here now. And I just have to share that because, a lot of times for those of us that have lost loved ones, we believe that, they're completely gone. And I think it's so beautiful how you've navigated that, but also how you've expanded that within your own heart and mind to include not just the father, but the husband, the guy, the brother, and understanding him from different perspectives. I think that's probably one of the most beautiful gifts, because through identity, no different than, the identity of father or the identity of mother, we have unconscious expectations of that, or believe that they should be a certain way or behave a certain way. And they're just human beings like you and I doing the best they can. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're all in this experience together. And, you'd mentioned Byron Katie's metaphor about stickies. And, it's through life as we have impressions, we can put stickies over the person, like over the individual in our own mind. And it's like, we come to a point where we actually aren't even seeing or recognizing who they are anymore. And so I think life is really, an opportunity to come back home and to be open to perceive more accurately.
Yes.
And I have been moved by how you've navigated that with your own father, and how, the awakeness that life can change in a moment, and that it's so precious and we have no clue what tomorrow is going to bring, never mind an hour from now. That, our beloveds, our parents, our grandparents, our spouses, whomever it is that, we have the privilege to say thank you, to share I love you, what is sincere inside of our hearts, and not wait for a perfect time, not wait for tomorrow, because we sincerely don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And I've watched the deepening for you, Mary, with your mama as well, and getting to know her,
I am grateful for the lessons that you taught me, and I'm also aware that there's also kind of a natural trajectory that all humans, if there's life cycles that we all pass through in this lifetime, childhood, young adult, maturity, elder. And through that, Tony, if you've been with him a while, I'm sure you've heard him recommend 2 books he often gives his seal of approval, and that's Generations and The Fourth Turning by Bill Strauss and Neil Howe. Neil Howe was actually just at our house a couple of weeks ago, and Tony and Neil had a conversation. In fact, that will be one of the upcoming podcast episodes. So if you're a history or demographics buff, you'll want to listen to that one. But I was listening, and Neil had said something like, who you are is almost always the opposite of how you were raised, because this universal thing is every generation kind of declares war on their parents, and there's this push away. It's part of our journey and our, the hero's journey or the heroine's journey. You push away from your mom and dad. And then I think if you're lucky and wise and you grow out of some things and strip away some ego, you come back to realizing, wow, you come back to that mom and dad that you once swore off and tried to go in every other direction. So I know that there is a natural ebb and flow to this relationship. But again, you guys do so much work with healing the relationship between kids and their parents. And I just love to hear more input from you about that push away and return, and what can you give if anybody is having any kind of strained relationship out there with their dad or mom or anyone?
Well, I think there's resistance and push. I'll speak for myself, is, as a younger version in my teens, it's like, I'm not that, but it's just ego mind of having resistance and judgment of what we believe, maybe somebody projecting their philosophy or way of life. And we resist that because we don't have enough life experience to actually know. Because so much, it's like, even listening to yourself, Mary, it's like now that you're a mom, and it's like you relate to your parents differently. Once you're married, once you have children, it's like, oh my gosh, all the things that I said I would never do, all the things I'd said I would never be.
I tucked my shirt in the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, I've become my father.
But that's so beautiful. That's the beautiful cycle of life. And, it's always there. That was always there and available. But through my own, immaturity or resistance of wanting to be, my own identity, whatever that means. You push and you pull and then you surrender and accept and actually recognize. I think for myself, it was the recognition that, gosh, we're not so different. Like they're going through this human experience just like I am. And I think that that's where the innocent or the ignorance of, believing that, they're supposed to do something for me because they're my mother, because they're my father. And it's like, oh my gosh, like what a gift to have them. What a gift that God bless me with their presence, with all the lessons, all the gifts, good, bad, and indifferent, and then just seeing them for who they are today, that's an opportunity for wholeness for ourselves, never mind for them. But life is always completing itself. And if we're willing, there's always an opportunity for life to come full circle. If we're here and alive, somebody took care of us. Even when I'm changing our little one, it amazes me. I'm like, oh my gosh, my parents did this for me. They fed me, they bathed me. It's, they provided a home for me to exist. Like what generosity, what servitude, my father worked, my mama was there, whether she was, whatever happened, whether she made us a lunch to go to school, like that love, how it was offered, and innocently as children, we can take that for granted because it's there.
Yep. And I hope this series of podcasts and conversations get you thinking about the relationship you had with your mom and dad. And if you, like you said, I know now that we have a child, it's like, holy moly, this is hard work. And somebody did all this for us to be where we are. And also, I coming in to sit down here, we even had we questioned ourselves and we said, what can us two new moms speak to about fathers? And I think it's important to look like 360 degrees all around. Like, for example, we love our daddies, and many people will say you're a daddy's girl, you're a father's daughter, or just like there's archetypes and patterns.